Hi, Manish.
Right.
There will be a couple of people, more than a couple of people joining from Sagacious also. So we are looking forward to the discussion that we are going to have here.
Arushi, over to you. You can begin with welcoming and introduction, and let's begin in a minute. I will go off mute now.
Sure. Hello and a very good afternoon to all. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our speaker for today's webinar, an invasive cardiologist entitled with various great establishments like Ashlok Hospital, Devim Wellness, also practicing functional medicine aimed primarily at the reversal of heart diseases. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Dr. Alok Chopra, who will be discussing living a heart-healthy life by preventing the risk of heart diseases. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to start by telling you that the incidence of heart disease has been pretty prominent in younger people. And in fact, some non-specific studies have shown that 30% of heart attacks in India are now seen in people who are well below 50, between 30 and 50. And we need to first talk about what are the reasons for that. I think some reasons come from typical lifestyle changes, and we treat our body, like a pyramid. And the base of the pyramid is our structural integrity: how we sit, stand, how we exercise, what are the messages that our body, and we tend to forget these things, affect different parts of our body. One pillar of the pyramid is like what we eat, breathe, and drink. One is the mental inputs that we are putting into our body. And lastly are the toxins and the minerals and metals and electromagnetic forces that are surrounding us. We often forget to talk about these because nobody talks about toxins and metal toxicity, etc., etc. So let's talk about smoking first. And smoking, has started very early in life now. And everybody thinks that at some point I will stop it. But the matter is that we all know that habits are made in that manner, and we continue to smoke. Smoking turns out to be one of the top problems because I have seen a lot of heart attacks, and when we do the angiogram, I find hardly any blockage. So smoking actually causes a constriction. The nicotine causes a constriction in the arteries, and if the arteries are even slightly inflamed, then all the ingredients that cause the plaque formation break up, and your blood comes into the artery and it gets blocked and you get a heart attack. So it's very sad that even without blockages, smoking can cause. The similar sort of problem can happen, of course, without pollution and what we are breathing in, but at least that's not so much in our control, but at least smoking can be in our control. Then is alcohol. Now, alcohol is not a problem because, when we have even seen long-term studies have shown that people who have a moderate amount of alcohol 2-3 times in a week or 2-3 times in 10 days, along with a right attitude, which often follows people to drink alcohol, actually live the longest and the healthiest. People who don't drink at all are number 2, and the people who overdrink is obviously the last one. Now, overdrinking is bad from every angle. Every part of our body gets upset with it. And this must be curtailed. And younger people, what I've seen is binge drinking. I don't know what happens to younger people on Saturdays, Sundays. And most of them are not drinking at all, so which is good. But the fact is that there is no room for binge drinking. Binge drinking can cause, contraction of the heart muscles, of the coronaries. It can also cause pancreatitis. which is sometimes as difficult or even more difficult to handle than a heart attack. So, it's a double whammy situation when you drink too much alcohol. So that is one. Mind and your mental inputs are so crucial that today, younger people are trying to build up their lives. They're always racing against who's good and who's bad, and how can I get more money, and how can I be quickly retire. There's another thing that I've seen in younger people, that they race up within the age of 35, 40, and they want to suddenly retire. And both things are bad. That, retirement doesn't mean real retirement. I mean, if you're retired from active work and do some other things like investments and all that, that's fine. But a lot of people take it easy, and when you take it easy, you get prey to, again, all the bad habits that have caused the problem. So your mind factors are very important, how you handle life. One of the ways that I found to do how to handle the mind without ending up in the psychologists or the all other people, or who are actually trying to help you. But I have seen that too much of psychology and psychiatry doesn't help up to a point, because you keep going on the same way, and the interaction doesn't really lead to an end. So my feeling is that we should do things which will take our mind into some more constructive thing. And I firmly believe that if we have a purpose in life, when we wake up in the morning, there must be a purpose in life that we have to see, and that chase it out properly with happily. There is a Japanese word called ikigai. You may have heard of it, about the blue zones. I'm sure people have heard about the blue zones. These are 7 or 8 places in the world where people live well over 100, and none of them, or hardly 1 or 2% people, will get sick. And it's also because they wake up with this serious sense of purpose, a reason for living, whether it's good or bad, a reason for living, and they help each other out. And so that is the word called ikigai, and we must wake up with a sense of purpose. The other thing is personal development. Personal development means that learning a new skill, learning a new language, learning a new dance step, where you add to your portfolio something which is not necessarily to do with your work. So we mustn't be only work oriented. We must have a personal development where we have 1, 2, or 3 methods of being involved. The idea is that you get mentally involved in something nice, and also you go, and when you say go to learn how to maybe say learn the Argentinian tango, let's say, for example, you meet people who you don't know, so you don't carry any people, no one is telling you what to do and what not to. And this is not to say that you don't go and meet your good friends, but this is another aspect which I found very healthy. And the other is contribution. Contribution doesn't mean that you have to do something very big, even a smaller contribution, like maybe teaching your cook son English, as simple as that. And it doesn't have to be something grandiose, but this combination of purpose, personal development, and contribution go a very long way in satisfying yourself. You calm down, and at the same time, you are doing things for yourself and for the community at large. So this is the important things here that which we talk about. Mostly, we've covered all the reasons why heart disease is going on. And to sum up, is that we have to say that while doing this, we have to do 2 things. Number 1, we have to respect our ancestors. Secondly, we have to superimpose our body clock on it. What is about 20,000 years old? So we are really stuck and saddled with it. When somebody may ask, why am I saying stuck and saddled with it? Because with it comes a unchangeable modality in your body to store fat and reduce fat burning. And you can't change that. You can do what you like, it won't go. So that is part of our DNA, and we have to live with it. So therefore, the story about intermittent fasting and all that, I'll come to that a bit later, is not this fad word called intermittent fasting or the keto diet. I mean, of course, people are doing it, and 90% plus are doing it wrongly because it's being run by self-styled nutritionists. It's been run by people who are even making food, but they are doing it in a manner without understanding what the biochemistry is. And until you understand the reason why this is being done, it doesn't help, because people are eating junk, they're eating wrong timings, uh, they're picking up stuff which is not healthy. And just because this word intermittent fasting has come into place, that you are eating in a particular window and not eating in another window, it's perfectly all right doing intermittent fasting, but there is a timing for it and there is a way to live with it. And that's why I've never used these words intermittent fasting. I call it time restricted eating. Now, time restricted eating is sort of encoded in our DNA. Why is it that? Because our ancestors used to wake up in the morning, run to look for food, run away from a wild animal, do a lot of manual work, and multiple times they used to get up and walk and do something. Nobody went for a long 10,000 step walk. Now, that's another mechanism which is not the right thing to do. That if you do a 10,000 step walk in one go, in a steady state aerobic walk, it actually, you lose your muscle mass and your bone mass. Now, 10,000 steps must be done, but it should be done in multiple times, small intervals. Some manual work, like the ancestors did, in the form of going to the gym or doing some form of strength training. And these are the two things which are very important. So, just doing 10,000 steps are actually adding too much to the person's mind. And I'm not in favor of too many of these gadgetries, because people are hanging around with gadgetries. They're telling me this much happened and that much happened. Recently somebody came to my house, and while I was talking to him, he just disappeared. And I said, "Where have you gone?" So he said, "No, my 28 steps are left." So people are adding too much of tension by all these gadgetries. As long as you are getting up and doing some aerobic activity, and this aerobic activity should be in the form of high intensity interval training. A lot of us know about it, but in one line, high intensity interval training means that you have to intersperse aerobic with anaerobic work. That means that you warm up, do 1 minute of very brisk walking or running or treadmilling or swimming, whichever way you like it, and then stop and reduce do a very slow walk. Don't stop. That means you do a fast walk or a fast run with a little bit of gap between, and then repeat this many times, which means that a very fast running should intersperse with slow walking many times, 4 or 5 times, but it should not be more than 20-25 minutes. 20-25 minutes is more than enough from the point of view of your heart health and any health for diabetes. That is a very crucial thing to do. So, so we were talking about the exercise program. Do your strength training at least 2 to 3 times a week, not more than that, unless you want to be an athlete or an actor, which is another ballgame. But otherwise, for normal people who want good health, not more than 3 times in a week, because your muscles also need about 56 hours to recover from it. So that is the important thing. So now comes the word intermittent fasting and how it should be actually done. Now, there is a body clock in our system, which is, I think a lot of people know the word circadian rhythm. We all knew about it, that there's a clock which does things at the right time. But recent research has shown that, every organ in our body, every mechanism in our body, every cell, every microbe in our body has a peak performance time and a peak resting time. So if we can live the life of our ancestors based on what they're eating or how they behave, and superimpose your body clock on it, we tend to not get any illness. I've done a lot of reversals of heart disease, diabetes, metabolic disease, autoimmune, thyroid, everything. And I've based my principles primarily on this. So a little bit, I already told you what our ancestors did, but just to revamp again, that you must do some strength activity, some manual activity, and some multiple times small activity. Then they worked up a big appetite, and therefore the first meal becomes your biggest meal. And this, I'm not using the words breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We are just calling it the first meal. And the first meal has to be your biggest meal, because that's the way our ancestors ate. And what did they eat? Everybody thought they were great carnivores. They weren't really. And because they didn't have the tools or the elements to catch hold of the big animals who were actually eating them up. So there were a lot of people, most of them were vegetarians. That means they ate a lot of veggies, nuts, seeds, roots. What they did in the meat form was either fish or poultry because they didn't bite back. So that is why 70 to 80% of our meals should be vegetarian, and twice or thrice in a week we should definitely eat non-vegetarian food. I mean, I'm not poking a thing at people who are vegetarians or vegans. They have their own issues and their whole problems. But technically, a little bit of non-vegetarian food, but non-vegetarian food will also mean where you're getting it from. Most of the foods that you're getting are not free-range chickens or free-range meats, and a lot of people are eating junk in the form of red meats and junk chickens and eggs. That is not the right way to do it. You have to find a way where you're getting the right form of non-vegetarian eating. A lot of people are vegans. I'm not terribly against it, but I'm not very happy with that because vegans also miss out on a lot of essential foods, like let's say omega-3. Everybody has heard of omega-3. Omega-3 is like your mobile oil in your system, and it lubricates every system in our body. It reduces inflammation, and it cures and helps in curing most of the chronic illnesses. Now, omega-3 oils, which are found mostly from fish, are the best. People who are eating vegetarian omega-3, yes, of course, they benefit, but I have managed to convince a lot of my vegetarian patients to eat at least fish oil capsules. Because I often tell them that if you're having milk which comes from an animal, then this also comes from fish. And at some level, even if there's no, psychological thing or some spiritual thing that you're not having it, it would be okay to have some amount of omega-3 capsules from fish, which will be greatly helpful. I've seen it changing so many things. So many people are recovering from eating this omega-3. The other thing is about the overuse of carbohydrates. I think now most of the people are pretty much aware, carbohydrates are not very good, but we don't really, everybody asks me that do we really need carbohydrates? The answer is yes and no. Yes means that we need them because in the long run, they are part of making our hormone bases, they are part of making our neurotransmitters. But for about 3 months, plus minus, we can live without carbs, and that is a very good time to reconvert our body from what we need to be. A few controversial things I want to tell you. There is a thing called insulin in our body. I'm sure everybody's heard about it. And the job of insulin is to put the carbs or the sugar into the cell for utilization. Another very important function of insulin is coming from our ancestral past, which means that in our ancestral past, the property of storing fat and reduced fat burning is also controlled by insulin. Now, here comes the big paradox of life. When I discovered that, I realized why is it that all Indians are getting heart disease and diabetes. In fact, 73% of the diabetics in India are all eating more carbohydrates. So what we really found was that the fats are very important to eat, because when we eat a carbohydrate food, the sugar will go the highest. When the sugar goes the highest, the insulin response is even higher, and higher the insulin response, the greater the message that goes to the body to store fat and reduce fat burning. Now, this comes as a surprise to everybody that carbohydrates in excess are the cause of storing fat, and fat is not the cause of becoming fat. Please understand this. Even if you don't like hearing this, or even if it comes as a surprise, I'm going to repeat again. Fat is made in the body from excess carbohydrates, from unused carbohydrates, and overdoing protein. See, we often do too much of protein in the sense to make bodybuilding or whatever reason, stronger muscles or stronger bones. Yes, of course, protein is needed, but there is a limit to which we can eat protein. And this is something which maybe I can tell you in a different way because it's a very long story. But suffice to say that we should eat more proteins, but we mustn't overdo proteins. An example of overeating proteins has been seen in the Dr. Atkins diet, who understood that good fats are important for our health, but he advocated that you must eat proteinaceous fats. So people started eating junk proteins and junk beef and chorizos and processed meats, and they all of them, including Dr. Poor Little Atkins, died of kidney failure by blocking their kidneys with too much of protein. So that also has to be taken care of. So when we eat a good fat, and I'll explain what good fats are, there is no rise of sugar. Please understand this very carefully. When we eat a good fat, there is no rise of blood sugar. If there is no rise of blood sugar, there is no rise of insulin. And when there is no rise of insulin, there is no message to store fat. So in my dictionary, 60% of our meals should be good fats, 20 to 25 should be proteins, and the rest must be from carbohydrates. We can live without carbohydrates for a few months, as I said, but we cannot get rid of them, especially in women. I've seen that this intermittent fasting is a little difficult for women to handle. But in any case, this is the way we have to do it. So to sum up, we need to eat not more than twice a day because that resonates with our DNA. Because our ancestors had eaten a bigger meal, and before sundown, they used to eat the second meal. Now, before sundown is not possible in today's world, but you can at least understand it by doing at least 3 hours plus minus between your last meal and sleep. Now, this is very crucial. Most younger people are not doing it at all. They continue to nibble all night or they party all night. I'm not against partying, but the idea is that until you convert your body to what we want it to be, you must not exceed yourself. I'm not against eating, going to parties or going out and meeting your friends or drinking a little bit of alcohol, but give yourself about 3 months, sometimes 6 months to change your metabolism. When your metabolism changes, then you have the option of doing things in moderation. I mean, moderation is not a nice word, but what I mean is that you can do other things easily, which you are used to doing. But in these 6 months, 3 months, you already change your whole system. So I think this is very important that at least 3 months must elapse till you change your whole thing. So again, please understand, fats do not make you fat unless they are bad fats. Now, good fats means that what are your cooking mediums? Let me talk about that. Your cooking medium should be ghee and white butter, which is coming from A2 grass-fed milk, extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil, extra virgin cold pressed mustard or sesame oil. But it must be cold pressed. Do not buy any liquid oils from the market. If you're buying a liquid oil in the market, just throw it in the vegetable basket. Olive oil is very good, but we mustn't cook with it. A lot of people are cooking with it because they're having that pomace olive oil, which is 100% junk. It should be only used for drizzling. Avocado oil is very powerful. You can cook it at any temperatures, but it's a little expensive. And hemp oil also you can use at any temperature. So these are the important things about the oils, and we must not have any liquid oils. Any oil which is liquid at room temperature, with the exception of avocado oil and olive oil, should be thrown into the vegetable basket. And 90% of us are eating it this way. So these are the main pointers. One word about eggs. See, first of all, let me tell you, cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. Now, this is a very long lecture if I have to give, but please understand that cholesterol is made in our body and it has 5 or 6 very important functions. All our hormone bases are made from cholesterol. Carriage of vitamins are made by cholesterol. Our white matter, gray matter is made from cholesterol. Our cell membranes are made from cholesterol. So if cholesterol was so bad, our body wouldn't be making it. What we have not told people, and what big pharma and everybody don't tell, is that the 75% of the cholesterol that is measured in your blood is made by our liver for all these essential reasons. Now, the problem is that there is a thing called LDL and HDL. Okay. Now, LDL is called bad cholesterol and HDL is called good cholesterol. What if I told you that LDL and HDL are not cholesterols at all? It gives a shock to people when I tell them. LDL and HDL are actually taxis or carriers, which are carrying a passenger called cholesterol. And were it not for LDL, cholesterol would not be able to go to the different parts of our body to do its job. And HDL brings the unused cholesterol back into the circulation. So HDL and LDL are crucial things for us. Were it not for them, the cholesterol would not have been carried. Now, when do things go wrong? Things go wrong when the carrier state, that is the LDL, becomes inflamed by wrong eating, wrong thinking, wrong everything else, or it becomes has an autoimmune reaction again by our lifestyle changes, or it has an oxidative stress. Again, the reasons are still the same. Then the carrier becomes inflamed. Now, when the carrier becomes inflamed, unfortunately, it has to carry the cholesterol too. So the carrier can be a good carrier when it is needed, or the carrier can be an inflamed carrier, in which case the arteries get a little, it scratches the artery and cholesterol forms a little band-aid over it. So when somebody dies and do a post-mortem and they find cholesterol in the arteries and they blame the cholesterol, it's like blaming the fireman for the fire. That's as ridiculous as that. Now, the other thing is that, let's say, give me an example, that say you come out from the airport and you hail a taxi, you sit down, the taxi guy puts your bag into the dicky and makes you sit down and opens your bag and puts some drugs in it. And you get caught, you will get caught. So that's what is cholesterol. The cholesterol was an innocent bystander who happened to be in the scene of crime. That is what is happening to cholesterol. So the issue is that when we can convert our lives where you have no oxidative stress, no inflammatory stress, no autoimmune stress, you do not need any statins for that. But till such time that we reverse our illnesses, statins are anti-inflammatory medicines. They are very useful when at the right time. But when we overuse them, they have a lot of side effects like muscle pains, muscle breakdown, diabetes, and most importantly, it reduces the cholesterol and the cholesterol cannot do its functions. So please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Yes, statins are necessary to bring down the inflammation in your heart arteries, but after that inflammation is gone, we don't need them, and provided we lead a life where we are eating, drinking well, and whatever, the things that we talked about is the thing. So this is the most important thing that I want to tell you. The second thing which I want to tell you is about how to recognize if you're getting a heart attack or angina. Now, we've all heard of the word angina. Angina means that there is a constriction in the arteries, temporarily giving you a chest pain, and it passes off when you rest. That is angina. When this angina continues further, you get a heart attack. So how to recognize it? Now, most importantly, everybody feels that the angina pain comes from the left side of the chest. In fact, less than 1% of angina pain comes on the left hand. Angina is felt where my hand is, in the center of the lower part of your chest, just above the solar plexus and just part in the lower chest. So it gives you a squeezing feeling. I'm showing you, it's like that. It is as if somebody is clawing at your chest. The quantum of pain could be less or more, is not the point. It's the nature of the pain, which means a squeezing pain, which is felt in the lower central chest, not on the left side of the chest. Please understand that. Now, this same angina can also start coming from the lower chest into your neck, giving you a throttling feeling, or it can hold as if somebody held your jaw. And at the same time, you may get the pain coming down both arms. Both arms is more common than only the left arm. So this left arm myth or the left-sided chest pain is very, very rare in heart disease. Please understand that. A lot of people come to me and say that I've got a pain in my arm for the last 1 week. So do I have a heart problem? Obviously not. If you're having a pain continuously for so long, you're not going to be alive for 7 days. So please do not mistake left arm pain, which could be coming from a pinched nerve in the neck or from your shoulder problems. So this is a typical presentation of angina. Now, there is a little variation. Sometimes angina can be felt separately in the locations. That means you may not get chest pain, you may get only a throttling sensation on exertion, or this jaw pain, and that can happen separately. So whenever an exertion is causing chest pain here, or in all the areas that I mentioned, that could be angina. So therefore, angina is felt in the height of exertion, at peak exertion, when you're running up a flight of stairs or going up incline, and that's when you get this pain. That is angina. And when you sit down, 5 to 10 minutes later, it's gone. So you can't say for 7 days that I've got this pain. Please understand, angina will go away in not more than 5 to 10 minutes. However, if the same pain continues and you're feeling low and you started to sweat and you're passing to pass out, then it may be a heart attack. Now, there is one condition which mimics angina to the last T, which is spasm of the food pipe, which is felt exactly the same place where angina is felt. But the difference is that it is always felt in sitting down. It is never felt during exertion, whereas angina is felt always during exertion. So if you get this pain while you're sitting or while you're eating, and there's a story of acidity, there's a story of acid reflux or bloating, then most likely, or in fact likely, is that the problem is inflammation and spasm of the food pipe. But if there is any doubt, you must first look for a place where you can get an ECG done in case you are in doubt. But if you sit down and understand exactly or take care of whatever I told you, it is not very difficult to differentiate between the two. And also it will tell you what really is angina and how we should protect it. So this is about the angina. The other thing is that over time, I have sort of more or less withdrawn myself from invasive cardiology into lifestyle cardiology. Not that invasive cardiology is bad. When it is needed, of course. And and that's another long story of when you should get a angioplasty done and when it should not. A lot of trigger-happy doctors are, putting stents in people who were even for the slightest thing. But thankfully, now this trend is changing, because during angiography, there are methods to tell whether there is an obstruction of blood flow. Blocks may be happening to everybody, a lot of people. A lot of people will have some blocks, but it does not mean that you have to put a stent in everything, as long as the block is not compromising the blood flow. And there is a method during angiography which can be done. So if anybody gets angiography done, please ask for this flow characteristics. That is the blood flow being compromised? Is it obstructing blood flow? If it isn't, then do not allow yourself to get a stent. And of course, based on this, we must do regular cardiac checkups. One is a routine checkup, and people do an ECG and a resting echo, and they feel everything is okay. Now, that's okay up to a point. But remember one thing, a resting ECG, you may have blockages in all your arteries, but your ECG may be normal, provided you have not had any episode. Similarly, a lot of people do a resting echo, which is good. Of course, we need a baseline. But again, you may be having multiple blockages, but your echo may be normal. Therefore, from time to time, you must do a stress echo, or where you run on a treadmill, or some dobutamine echo or a thallium test, to see that when you are exerting, what is happening to your heart. So that is very important from time to time to do. And the other thing is that whenever you are in doubt, wherever there is a pain, chest pain or something, do approach a doctor and see, do an ECG done to make sure. But the way I've explained it, if you understand it properly, you will never make a mistake between the angina and things like that. So over time, blood pressure has played. What are the major risk factors? Of course, the bad eating and all we have mentioned, all your mind and toxins and all that. But what is the issue here? That when we are talking about blood pressure, we're talking about blood pressure. So blood pressure is a very important subject, which is one of the major risk factors for creating a heart disease, because the arteries get narrowed and over time and worse and worse. So we must measure our blood pressure once, twice, many times when we are checking it, because sometimes when you come into a doctor's office, you're a little anxious and your blood pressure may go up. It doesn't mean this is the right pressure, but therefore multiple mechanisms, multiple times we have to see to understand that what is our actual blood pressure, because it's a very variable item. When I'm excited, it'll go up. When I'm resting, it'll come down. But people who are constantly under tension, they create a situation where the blood pressure becomes fixed even when they're relaxed. So we must prevent this by using all those other techniques that I said to calm down and make it good. There is a method of measuring the blood pressure over time, which means we have gadgets today to measure the blood pressure for 24 hours and 48 hours. So in that day, once in a while, you can put on that little gadget on your arm and you can do everything, run up, go up a flight of stairs, run, do whatever you like, so that we can see that in your normal day life plus is the blood pressure going up or down, and that will help the doctor to decide what to do. And we must refrain ourselves from taking overdose of medicines, because when we take overdose of blood pressure medicine just because it went up due to tension or anxiety, then your blood pressure can be very low, and a lot of doctors and big pharma advocating that your blood pressure should not be more than 110/70. That's all bull crap, and we should not allow ourselves to fall prey to this. So blood pressure should not be very low, especially in people as we are growing a little bit older. The arteries become a little thicker, so we need a little bit of pressure head. So each person to its own. There can't be a one-size-fits-all. So please find a good cardiologist, a good doctor who understands the manner the way I'm explaining it, and gives you few weeks to ultimately finalize, do you need drugs, and if you need, how much you need. And don't overdo this, because when you overdo blood pressure medicines, the blood pressure falls and the perfusion pressure to your organs comes down, and you can get organ damage with it. And the medicines will not be blamed. That's the other big problem. So as this is the form of blood pressure. We also have many gadgets today where we can also see whether we are getting any rhythm disturbances. Now, rhythm disturbances are also pretty common in today's life. You can get skipped beats, or you can get runs of rhythms. And this has been seen more now during COVID times. COVID itself can cause a lot of problems in the rhythm, and especially the vaccines. The vaccines are also causing a lot of rhythm disturbances. So if you feel a fast flutter or the skipping of the beats, please definitely go and see the doctor. It can happen due to anxiety as well, but we must go to the doctor and see. Today we have gadgets which we can put on our chest, and it will sort of read your ECG round the clock. And there are times when we need to do it once a day. In heart patients, we sometimes do it 3 times for 3 days continuously. And when we are monitoring rhythm disturbances, we can even go up to 7 days or 21 days. And based on what we find, we can accurately say that, okay, when you're lying down or sleeping, what is happening to your heart? When you're running, what is happening to your heart? So it's a very good way of doing it, which we call external loop recording or Holter monitoring, where we actually see what the heart rhythm is doing in all your day's activities. So those are things which we must look into and do. And the other thing is that whenever you get into a problem, whenever you're in doubt about whether this pain is coming from the heart, please go and see a doctor who you trust, so that you can understand, whether you are really running into that. So over time, I've shifted a lot of my thinking into functional medicine. Functional medicine is a new way of practicing medicine. It's not an alternative or a complement medicine. It's not yoga. It's not Ayurveda. It is based on modern medicine. But the difference is that we don't give any pharmaceuticals. I have found tremendous success with it. Of course, when medicines are needed, they're needed. But most of us, when we are entering into a chronic stage of disease, most of these chronic illnesses can be treated just with supplements and lifestyle changes. It is a reality, a perfect reality. I have been doing this for about 5 years, and I've managed to reverse over 1,500 people with heart disease and diabetes and autoimmune disease, thyroid disease. And so I feel that, although I'm a cardiologist by profession, a large part of my work is looking into the whole body, because all our organs are connected. It doesn't mean that, there's I mean, sometimes we joke and say that there's a doctor for the left eye and the doctors for the right eye. Over specialization has happened. Yes, over specialization is needed when it's needed. But by and large, most doctors can handle if you practice functional medicine with supplements, with lifestyle changes. And I've got a list of things where we can use a lot of supplements to bring down your blood pressure. It's a very long list, but maybe I can somehow send it to you and you can all read that. There are about 25 items that I have, which in right quantities can help in controlling your heart disease and helping your heart disease if you have some, and keeping your blood pressure in check. So these are the three main things that we're talking about. Remember, to sum up, that we must respect our ancestral past and put your body clock on it. Now, the body clock wakes you up. Now, I forgot to talk about that. Our body clock wakes us up around 5:30. Now, if you're sleeping, you missed that bus. It wants you to do an aerobic activity soon after waking up. Again, if you're still sleeping, you miss that bus too. Then you need to expose yourself to the sun for about 20 minutes. I'm now talking about the body clock, that every hour in our body is already done. So whether you sleep or not sleep, this is not going to change. Okay, then you need to be exposed to the sun to allow your melatonin to go down and bring the day hormones and your day metabolic to kickstart your metabolism. Again, if you're sleeping, you'll miss that bus again. 12 o'clock at noon is your best thinking, decision-making time. 2:30 in the afternoon is a nap time. Whether you like it or not, please see that if you can take a quick 30-minute nap between 2:30 and 3, that's the time where the body clock works. And you can even put some, binaural beats. People must have heard of that. Binaural beats in your ears and go to sleep. It gives you a very nice theta rhythm sleep. It refreshes you, rejuvenates you, helps you to solve problems. Very crucial component of this 30 to 40 minute sleep. Then 4:35 is your strength building time, odd time, but that's the way our body functions. 7 o'clock is your fat burning stops. So what we now have learned is that your last meal ideally should be at 7 o'clock. What I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to say that you have a late brunch and an early dinner. Now, a lot of people can't do it, I'm sure, because of their work responsibilities or their time responsibilities or late night work. Some people work only at night. But the idea being is that however close you can come to this timing, however controlled that you can come towards this method that I'm talking about of time restricted eating, having a window of eating. Ideally, this window should be around 8 to 10 hours and not eating for about 14 to 16 hours. A lot of are not getting benefited at all. Some benefit will happen.
Hello, sir.
Dr. Harshita, I hope you are aware that we can't. There seem to be some issue.
Yes, Monica, looks like there's connection issue, Dr. Alok sent. Meanwhile, we can have all the participants sending in their questions. So as soon as Dr. Alok comes live, we can take those questions as well.
So, guys, if anyone has a question, please ask. I think an interesting topic was going on the time of meal and what the body is processing at that time. So I was looking forward to the discussion. But asking others, if you have any questions, please, you may unmute or you may write it on the chat box.
So Arushi, Dr. Alok will be rejoining. When he rejoins, please unmute him and put him on spotlight again.
Yes, sure. I admitted him though. I think he's back.
Meanwhile, he joins. Most of you here who have joined have already gotten your annual health checkup done. So would you like to share what has your ECG report been? Please share it in your chat section. Arushi, Dr. Alok has joined. Can you unmute him also, and can you allow him to share the video as well as a host?
Sir, can you please unmute yourself?
He cannot unmute himself, so you'll have to do it.
No,
Could you
he
disable
can do that.
Dr. Harshita, the issue isn't resolved. What is the next step that can be taken here?
One minute. He's just logging off and joining back. Meanwhile, you can see the questions which are coming up. And also, I was asking you all that you all have gotten your ECG done. It was a 6-lead ECG which you got done, and instantly you've got report as well. So, is there anybody who wants to share what their ECG reports were, either in the chat or you want to go off mute? You have any questions regarding ECG? This is like the right time and place to put that up here. Guys, I appreciate your patience for waiting. Just give us a minute more so we can resolve it. Like we've established, it's a very interesting and important topic. So we just want to hold on to it for a while. Hello all, I've put Dr. Alok on speaker, so you'll be able to hear him.
You know what you are saying is, there's a lag time.
We can hear you, Dr. Alok. Please continue.
Okay.
Rushi just put him on spotlight as well. Thank you all for patiently waiting.
Can also have 5 fingers and 5 elements. So each finger actually represents each element. Yoga philosophy says that through each finger for the energy for digestion and metabolism. So Saman, the force for the energy for digestion and metabolism. We have 2 hands and
Dr. Rahul, Dr. Alok, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes. So we can hear you too. You can continue. You were speaking about the meal timings and the circadian rhythm, which everybody was interested in. So that's why they were held on to the call.
Where do I start from? Start from where do you want me to start from? Where did it sort of end? Hello?
Yes, you mainly stopped at like the part where the meals, at what time of the day, how it works. Before that, you were speaking about the sleep, how the circadian rhythm works, at what time your
Yeah.
body wakes up. So circadian rhythm is what you were mainly speaking about in terms of sleep as well as food. So I think that's where you can continue from, and then we have some questions. We can take those questions as well.
So you want me to do this circadian rhythm again?
Yes, you can explain that in brief, and then we can take questions.
Okay. Okay. Shall I start?
Sure.
Okay. So I was just trying to talk about this circadian rhythm. Now, this circadian rhythm is going to be in your body. Even if I lock you up in a black cave for 6 months, it's not going to change. So you cannot change this. You cannot change the circadian rhythm timings. You cannot change the ability of storing fat and reduce fat burning. So we have to live within this ambit. So we talked about the fasting time, that the best time to do it according to the circadian rhythm, which means that between 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and the most 11 a.m. is the time for your first meal. And the second meal comes at, if it is 9, it's 5, if it is 10, it is 6, if it is 11, and 7. Practically speaking, I found that 11-7 is easy to do for most people. Otherwise, you know, in the morning, everybody's running to their work and all. So it's not practically possible. If you can do, I mean, with the patient, my patients who are actually doing the first meal at 9 and second at 5 are really flourishing, unbelievable responses. But at the same time, I fully understand that the way we are living and the way we are working is not necessarily possible for everyone. But I think 11 and 7 is a good time. And many times people say, no, I have to work late and I have to do that. Is also because you made the habit of waking up late and eating late. So I think whatever is possible, please try and do this because every system in our body, every mechanism has a peak performance and a peak resting time. So when you are doing performance during resting time or resting during performance time, it's not going to help you. And I've seen this in my practice, that people who do not manage a complete reversal of cardiometabolic disease are often stuck with this circadian rhythm. And just to tell you, around 5:30, you wake up at 5:30, not later than that. Then you do aerobic activity, expose yourself to the sun, convert your metabolism into your morning metabolism. 12 o'clock is your brain decision-taking time. 2:30 is your nap time. 4:30 is your strength building time. And 7 o'clock plus minus, you have to stop eating. And that's the time, because we want rest, rejuvenation, and repair. Now, rest, rejuvenation, repair happens after your stomach is empty for at least 3 hours. So if you eat at 7, by your body at night will do all the recovery. Whereas what are we doing? We are running our car the whole day long and parking it in the garage with the ignition on. So that we have to avoid. So as I said, people who follow the body clock and along with this in the ancestral past are doing very well. So in other words, let's do a late brunch and an early dinner, to put it easy. And our DNA does not allow us to eat more than twice, because that's the way they used to eat. It's not a question of intermittent fasting. The question is that not more than twice eating is encoded in our DNA. And once in a while, they used to even eat once a day because there was no food available. So to translate this into our daily life is that once a week or once in 10 days or twice in 10 days, we prefer, and I do it, a 24-hour fast. Now, sounds very difficult, but it's not all that tough, because during that 24-hour fast, you can have green tea, you can have black tea, green coffee, black coffee, some nimbu pani or some dhania pani, methi pani. So, you can take that. I mean, there are dry fasts also when you don't drink even water, but that's a little tougher to do. But at least we can do this for a while and without, too much of trouble. Because most of the hunger that we feel is hedonistic, which means that, oh, 12 baj gaye, we must eat. Or you have smell of bread or something like that, which makes you want. But when you do that, you should take a metaphysical meal, like go for a walk, write a journal about what you want to do some meditation, do some pranayam. It's very easy to do. At any next point of time, if you want me to show you the pranayam techniques which will help with our health, I can do that for you at some other time. So do something like that to distract yourself. The other way to do it is that a lot of people find it difficult doing 24 hours. So what I've done for them is I've given them what I call a break a fast meal. Break a fast meal means that around at 22 hours, you take a small little smoothie, or you take a small little, maybe some boiled eggs or soup or some soft vegetables, just to say that, you're eating a little bit. And then after about an hour and a half, you have your big meal. And you will see that when you fast for this long of time, what is happening in our system? All our misbehaving cells, our bad cells, our precancer cells, our degenerating cells, which cannot live without eating for more than 8 hours, will die. And what don't die are your stem cells, your young cells. We understand stem cells can do anything in our body. So the stem cells which are hiding for a rainy day, they come out in the circulation. And they flood your body with new cells and new lease of life, a new lease of youth that you will get every day. And for the next few days, after this fast, you are actually, your mind is buzzing with neuroplasticity, buzzing with activity, buzzing with thinking processes, problem-solving processes. So it's when you experience it, you will realize that what a great value that this fasting is doing for us. So please find a way to do this fasting. And if you can put, as I said, the circadian rhythm, then you're a real winner. Now, is that all? I mean, I can keep talking for the next 24 hours, but if anybody has any questions.
Sure, Dr. Alok, thank you so much for the great session. I will hand it over to Arushi to moderate the questions. We've got some questions, and any other new questions, you can please type on the chat and we can take those questions one by one. Over to you, Arushi.
Thank you, Dr. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Azad. Thank you, Dr. Alok. That was a very great insights and that was really helpful. So we do have few questions,
Yeah.
and so first question was that you were mentioning something about eggs. So how egg is helpful?
Yeah, you see, egg का problem ये है कि everybody is worried about the yellow. The truth is that when we eat egg white alone, now egg white is 90% water and 10% inflammatory protein. Now this inflammatory protein doesn't, give you an obvious inflammation, but it is under the surface, this inflammation. So when you mix it with the yellow, the inflammation gets. So do not eat a egg white, overdo an egg white because it's not good for your health. Please understand. A lot of what I'm saying is a disruptive technology, but please understand I have gone into the great depths of what really should be and what the big pharma and all the FDA and all the National Institute of Health and all the Rockefeller Foundations and the Bill Gates, everybody has screwed up this whole system. And we have become so used to having drugs that a lot of time people, when I say that, when I try to tell people the biochemistry so that you can take ownership for illness, they say, "Choro doctor, batao goli kaun si khani hai?" Because everybody got so used to it. So now, as far as the eggs are concerned, eggs go bad when you overheat them or pan fry them. Now, the problem is that when you overheat or pan fry, the yellow and the white both get inflamed. It's nothing to do with cholesterol. It gets inflamed and the inflammation will get into your body. So therefore, my preference is that you have some soft-boiled egg or hard-boiled egg or a poached egg, which is made in the in water in a small saucepan with a little bit of white vinegar in it. You will get a very well done soft-boiled or hard-boiled egg or a poached egg. Now, it doesn't mean that if you eat an omelette or a fried egg, there's something going to happen with you. But primarily speaking, when you eat the eggs, you must eat the form in this form. I mean, I eat about 4 eggs every day. So, but I also make sure that I don't do anything wrong. Now, this is not to say that I'm, some sort of a zombie who's eating wrong foods. If you see the foods that you eat, you will be, drooling. I'm also a fully certified chef. So I make my own food, I make my own bread, I make my own rotis also. So you can live your life very well without all the junk eating, definitely. So eggs ki baat ho rahi thi. So eggs are good, but again you have to buy the free range eggs coming from free range chickens, which is difficult to find. But when you do find from the cake farms or Gayatri farms or Licious or various places where now all the eggs should look like a fawn colored or browner colored outer surface and a deep yellow or an orange colored yolk, then you can understand that this is the true egg. Otherwise, it is all manufactured. That's about eggs. I want to talk something about fructose. Fructose is our biggest killer. There are 2 types of fructose. One is the industrial fructose, which is found in anything which is packaged, processed, pesticides, preserved, or comes in a plastic, or it is transported. Please do not eat anything like that. Transported means that somebody is saying, "What are you eating?" "I'm eating an avocado." Avocado is great. Where did you get it from? From Australia. Oh, by the time it comes from Australia, this is all packaged and processed and all screwed up. So not eat anything that comes in a kit. Now, unfortunately, fruit sugar is 100% fructose. So I'm not demonizing fruits, but we are certainly not raising fruits to the holy grail of health that we have made it to be, not just in India, but all over the world. Now, the problem is that how do fruits get into a bad way? First of all, fructose is non-metabolizable. Please understand, unlike glucose, fructose cannot be metabolized. So when people have fruit juice or fruits and they measure the sugar does not rise. So everybody said, very good, the sugar doesn't rise, so let's eat more fruit. The truth is that fructose is not metabolizable. So when you're eating fructose in the form of fruit, it goes straight into the liver and gives you a fatty liver. And when you have a fatty liver, that's the starting point of every chronic illness. So as I said again, I'm not demonizing fruits because fruits have got a lot of polyphenols and flavonoids, which are great for health. But again, as I said earlier, until you spend those 3 months in converting your system to what you want to be, do not overdo fruits. And you can then slowly bring the low fructose fruits, which are berries across the board, cherries, not grapes, grapefruit, tangerine, kiwi, bear, jamun, guava, green apple, apricot, and cantaloupe. Cantaloupe being the orange melon. These are your low fructose fruits. But again, do not make a meal out of fruits. And secondly, please do not eat fruit on an empty stomach. This is again a ploy of Big Pharma to keep you sick. If you remember your father, your grandfather, your great grandfather, we used to eat fruit right after eating. They had that gyan that the fruit should be immediately after eating, because then the fructose goes in its metabolism with the other food. When you eat fruit on an empty stomach or as an aperitif or as a snack, the fruit is pure fructose which is going straight into your liver. So fruit juice is your biggest poison. Please understand that. Yes, again, I'm not demonizing fruits. Fruit has the right place, but it should be when your body is converted into the way that I would like you to be, and that's the time when fruit comes. Needless to say, there are other elements of fructose which are 9 times or 10 times more fructose than fruits. And again, what I'm going to mention are great foods. They have great powers, but unfortunately, in the first 3 to 6 months, we shouldn't be eating them much, which include your dates, your figs, your prunes, and all
Sir,
these honey and maple syrup. Yeah.
thank you so much, sir. That was a great help. So let's move on to our next question. That's in summers, the heartbeat normally seems fast. So is it normal or is there an issue in summers?
You see, in summers, actually, it's not a question of the heartbeat going more or something. Clearly, in winter times, the heartbeat goes much more quicker, and also your blood pressure is higher. I've seen it always that I sometimes who have to make sure that the people who are prone to getting high blood pressure, in the winter time, the blood pressure always goes higher because the cold constricts the arteries. When the arteries get constricted, the blood pressure goes. In fact, in summer, the blood pressure comes down. So this is a little myth also. I mean, heart rate fast and heart rate, this thing is more related to what you're eating and doing rather than for climate. A little bit change, of course, is there, but not so much.
So we have a similar kind of a question. That's what will be the top 5 mantra for healthy heart to swear by as a discipline in daily life?
First of all is, as I said earlier, was the pyramid thing. That means we must have perfectly what we need to eat, drink, and breathe, right? So we eat the right foods. We eat the foods which are not packaged. That is from the food's point of view. What we are breathing, better air, and what we think. Our mental inputs are very important. Our exposures to our electromagnetic forces is a very, very, very big challenge. That all of us have got 1 million devices. Each person has at least 2 or 3 devices. So I request everybody to have blue light filters on all your devices. Switch off your Wi-Fi at night. Do not use your Wi-Fi. Also switch off all these little green and red and blinking lights in our rooms. TV also, all your devices must have. When evening comes, around 7 o'clock onwards, we've all heard of melatonin. Now, melatonin again has been misused because melatonin is considered to be a sleeping pill. It's not a sleeping pill. It is a sleep inducer. It's like the guy who says, on your marks, get set, go. He only initiates the race. He doesn't run the race. So melatonin should be taken at least an hour and a half before sleep time, that it brings up all the chemicals and the hormones that are made in our body to give you a better sleep. So that is the important part of the melatonin.
Sure, sir. So for in chat box, we have the last question, that can heart attack happen while sleeping?
Yes, it can happen. Now, this is a very good question. You see, what happens is that our blood pressure has also a circadian rhythm. That the blood pressure sort of is the lowest at around 5:36 in the evening, and 6:30 onward it slowly starts to rise and rises up till about 2 a.m. and then maintains that height till about early morning and then starts to come down again. So this conversion, when the timing is around 2:33, which we often colloquially and funnily call the witching hour,
Hello. So I would like to ask whether there are more questions.
No, I haven't completed that last question. That
Oh,
around.
so you went on mute.
No,
Please
I didn't do
continue.
anything. It automatically happened.
So, yeah, okay. Please continue. Sorry.
So around 2:33 is what we call the witching hour, where many heart attacks can take place because the body also wants rest. So when it's resting, all the mechanism which keep you healthier can temporarily go down. So even ulcer pain, asthma, babies are born at that time, and heart attacks often happen at that time. So if you feel any discomfort at night in the manner that I told you, please immediately. By the way, I want to also say that don't wait for the local doctor to come and check you. If you are suspecting a heart problem, get into the car and go. Don't even wait for the ambulance, because ambulances may not come in time, and with the sort of traffic that we have, we get lost somewhere. So when it is possible, please go straight to a facility which can help you. Do not wait for the local doctor to come or wait all that.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really a great help. So I would like to request, oh, we have another question.
Yes,
First aid for, yeah. Okay, so what to do instantly if we are suspecting a heart attack? So what will be the first aid for heart attack?
Sorry, say again?
What will first aid for heart attack? What to do instantly if we are suspecting it?
Okay, first of all, what you should do is that if you are getting that typical pain, you must have a little packet of medicines that you can have, which you have a sorbitrate, uh, aspirin, and a statin. These are the three things which you should keep in your pocket. That means the sorbitrate, uh, aspirin, and a statin that you should keep always in your pocket. In case you need that, immediately it will help. The other thing that you have to do is that try to do deep breathing. Take a deep breath in and cough out like that. Take a deep breath in, cough out like that, and carry on doing that. And again, try to, because that will trigger the heart again. Also, try to learn how to do abdominal breathing. Most people are breathing from the top of their chest. When you breathe from the top of your chest, there is very little air exchange. Breathing from the stomach abdominal breathing is very important for that. And as I said, in another game, another time, I can show it to you on the screen how to breathe and how to do these exercises. But try to understand that abdominal breathing, when you breathe in, your tummy must come out. What we are doing is that our chest is coming out, and we are saying, okay, 56-inch chest, it's not helping the heart.
Okay, so
I had a
does
follow-up.
anyone,
This.
hello?
Yes, I had
Yeah.
a question, a follow-up question on this, Dr. Alok Chopra. Thank you so much for the insights. So you mentioned about the three medicines and
Yeah.
that we should carry handy.
Yeah.
When it is happening, all three should be consumed immediately. Is that?
Yeah, maybe I can tell you first. You can have, you see, Ecosprin, that aspirin comes in 75 milligrams and 150 milligrams, but you can keep 2 tablets of Ecosprin, 75 milligrams. Number one. You can have another medicine called clopidogrel, Clopegre, clopidogrel, also 75 milligrams, 2 tablets. Then you take that statin, atorvastatin, maybe one of the known statins. That comes in 10, 20, and 40. You should keep 240 milligrams with you. And lastly, you have to have 1 tablet of sorbitrate, which should break with your teeth and keep under the tongue. But when you do that, you must rest or lie down. Don't take the sorbitrate and stand up suddenly, because the BP can fall. So these are the things you should have in a Ziploc bag, with easy access.
Thank you. I think
I said
most of the
and
EDCs.
deep breathing and that coughing technique also should be done, where sometimes the heart gets into a silent mode and it can get re-triggered again. And lastly, not the least, do not wait for a doctor to come. Try and reach a medical facility.
Yes, sir. Okay. And my last question also is there, which is the significance of drinking water. It's usually said that in the night you should have it. It also aids in preventing heart attacks. Is there
Yeah.
a sensibility to it?
You see, what happens is actually we tend to underhydrate ourselves, in fact, not just for the night, but we should, keep on drinking some water. Again, please also, a lot of the times when people drink too much water, it also dilutes the sodium. So don't do overdoing, but you must have an adequate amount of water, 2 to 3 liters a day. Take a glass of water just a little bit before sleeping. Of course, if you have too much water, it's going to wake you up and go to the loo. But
Right.
at least some adequate water is essential because it doesn't let the blood thicken. Then when the blood should not congeal or be thickened if you don't drink enough water.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alok, for such a great insights. That was really helpful. We'll definitely take note on your valuable tips. I would also like to thank our audience for joining us and for having a lot of patience. We'll see you all in our next webinar. Also, if any of you have missed this webinar or any part of the session, please you can revisit our recording from on our YouTube channel from Assurance by NanoHealth channel. So we'll see you all in our next webinar. Thank you so much, Dr. Alok. That was a great session.
Okay,
Yeah,
welcome.
that was very,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Doctor. We are enlightened and we'll ensure we take care of our heart health and
Okay.
also spread the awareness.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alok. It's a privilege to have you here. Arushi.